Lubricate me with oil, for I am your god. It's Stony here from the Large Blast podcast, joined with you, as always, by Welshie.
Give me a reach around with that mecha dendrite.
And Matt.
I'm a personally conflicted space marine.
And we're here today to talk about all things Warhammer, in particular Techmarines. And let's get things kicked off with, like we always do, a little something that we call hobbies goings on. So what's been going on in your hobby life, Matt?
So I've still been quite productive actually, just like an hour or so every evening. Obviously did that Iron Warrior for the previous episode.
You can see that on the thumbnail. That's Matt's fine work there.
Bashed that out of my bits box. Like, it's crazy how much stuff you just sort of collect over time.
How did you do the hazard stripes, Matt? Did you do black on yellow or yellow on black?
I always do yellow first.
Right choice.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yellow first.
What kind of madman goes black first?
Someone's got to do it. Someone's
Yeah.
got to do it.
There's gotta be
If
some
you
nutter
base
out there.
coated black, then you've got to go yellow.
Oh, I guess so.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the crazy. Yeah, that's crazy.
That's the kind
What's
of
the
cunt
main-
that brings
what's the main
mackerel to
painter guy
work and
called?
heats it up in the microwave.
That's the
guy's
kind of
not
guy
got a
that paints
plan.
non-metallic metal with metallic paints.
All right, maybe he does.
What's the main Games Workshop painter called? Can't remember his name.
Which one? Darren Latham?
Darren Latham. It's Darren Latham who only base coats in black. Doesn't matter what he's painting. He only base coats in black. So if he's painting a white scar, he bases in black.
Oh man.
Anyway,
Sometimes old habits are hard to break, aren't they? You know.
Yeah. And what else did I do? I bought some. I've bought it before, but I've never really made anything with it. But I'm planning to make a few buildings this year, like city buildings destroyed on continue to build some city terrain. It's not foam board. It's like it's the same idea of foam board, but it doesn't warp. So you can do anything to it. So it's more plasticky, but it's still expanded plastic. PVC, I think it's PVC foam or something.
How do you cut it? Hot wire?
No, you cut it like a knife. It's just a bit harder than foam board. I can't remember what it's called.
I think I've bought some of that. Those sheets. Do you remember that?
You can buy
28 ink 28 stuff. I've used that as the backboard to that. You cut it with a scalpel, don't you? But it's still quite hard.
So I got some more of that because my lower shelf in my cabinets which has got the Bretonian army in. It was the white shelves, and I thought, oh, sod it, I'll just get something to paint my textured paint on that are the same as the bases and make the army look like it's in a field, on some earth. So I did all that and added those baseboards, essentially baseboards, textured baseboards to the army. So the army sits on terrain, and those were the paints that I bought with Games Workshop. Games Workshop.
Oh,
the
your
Games
free
Workshop
money
voucher gave me free money, and I bought that. Yeah. Playing a bit more Space Marine 2 as well. Just been a
Where's
bit
the
more
phone call,
Warhammer.
Matthew?
The what?
Where's the phone call? Hey, Welshie, you want to play some Space Marine 2?
Oh man. Well,
I've been sitting here waiting for years.
I'm actually.
He's been
I'm actually
practicing this
thinking.
whole time, waiting for you to get a Space Marine 2, man.
I think I'm gonna on the weekend. I'm gonna move the Xbox into the Warhammer room and hook it up to my screen because where it is in the living room,
It was inevitable.
An
Xbox in the living room with a child? I think not. No. Immediately take it to your Warhammer cave and squirrel it away.
I need it in the cave
Mm.
because every time I play the game, I forget how to play the game, and then by the time I remember how to play the game, I've got to turn it off.
Yeah.
So it's like, so I'm going to move upstairs and smash them out.
I've talked to you. I've mentioned it in the past. My troubles as a 40-year-old gamer, where I only remember the buttons for how to play very specific games, and anytime I'm presented with a new game, I immediately can't play it because the buttons are all wrong. So I feel your pain.
Well, Matt, just let me know when you're on.
Yeah,
buddy.
so I'm going to train
available.
up, and then I'll send you a message.
You don't even need to train to come out with me. There ain't no Xenos standing in the way.
It's ready to carry us.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's do it.
Well, what about you, Welshie?
Well, I quickly finished off a model that I started ages ago, which was the Doom Rider, because Stoney will tell you more about
I need
his
to watch that video.
super cool 3D print he's done a video for on the main channel. And Yeah, so I just did a little short of my Doom Rider.
I watched
to
that
link
just
in.
today. Actually,
Yeah.
that base looked fucking wicked.
Oh, thanks, man.
That thing you've got going on with the sort of mystical bases is so
Yeah.
effective. It looks so good. Yeah, excellent. Really.
Oh,
I don't.
thanks.
Yeah, it was like he's got kind of like a big skid mark of magic essentially
Yeah, that was
coming
what I
off
was
him,
going
doesn't it?
for.
But like I forgot that colours that you use work
Yeah.
so well for doing that.
It's super easy as well. Like it's one of the easiest things I do really. Like that base is literally just dry brushed increasingly white. So you got bright in the middle on that skid mark, as you say. So it looks like the warp fires coming out of the wheels of the Doom Rider. So it's dry brush white, and then it's just you just mix Athematic Blue and Warpstone Glow wet. So you just put literally the contrast on top of dry brush white. That's it. That's all it is. There's no edge highlights or nothing. It's just the two
Yeah.
wet paints splodged on top.
So effective, works brilliantly. If you're looking for mystical bases, go check out those videos because it's a
Yeah.
fucking good tip.
So yeah, that's basically all I managed to do this week was just finish off that Doom Rider base, get the short up, so that direct people to Stoney's excellent MF Doom Rider vid, which you can get now on our Cult 3D.
That's
believe.
right. If you're ready,
Whoa.
if the cross section of being an MF Doom fan and a fan of Doom Rider, the very specific model, is new, then you need to go over to the Colts 3D right now and pick yourself up a MF Doom Rider.
Well, I assume that was your hobby progress there, Stoney, or have you been getting on with other stuff now your printer is working again?
Well, no, my printer isn't actually working.
Oh,
I still
no.
haven't got a new printer. But I would like to give a quick shout out to Paint Water Hobbies, who's a nice guy who listens to the show and who reached out to me recently with some printing solutions. So that's very nice of him. So get onto Instagram and follow Paint Water Hobbies. What else have I been doing? I kind of wanted to take a bit of time off from doing the 3D stuff just for a little while, whilst I've been moving some stuff around in my house and whatnot, and all the printers been uprooted and everything. So I kind of thought that this month I might focus on doing this thing, the Big Bot Bash. Have you heard about this? Which is like there's this guy called Bill Makes Stuff on YouTube. And he's got like a game that he's made, a tabletop game he's made called Gutterlands, which is kind of based around people who make. So it's basically encourages you to make your own miniatures for it out of like, you know, people call it scratch building, but what they really mean is gluing loads of milk bottle tops together. Like, I don't know what it is. Every single scratch build has to contain a milk bottle top. I don't know why, but every single one I watch on YouTube. So I think scratch building has to be at least partially milk bottle top based. But he is the king of making stuff out of milk bottle tops, basically. And he's got a thing on this month being like, hey, there's this thing, the Big Bot Bash, and you can make a big robot. And I just thought like, hey, why not? Why not do that? Because I feel a little bit like when you make stuff with your like stuff physically out of all the milk bottle top guys and that, you know, they're a bit like, oh, the 3D printing guys, they're a bunch of, we're like the snazzy wankers, you know. So I want to get out there. I want to get me some milk bottle tops going. I want to get fucking grubby, get some PVA out, and I'm really going to try to not use. Well, my initial plan at the moment is to try to not use milliput, which is my like kind of crutch for everything, because I just like, if in doubt, just sculpt it out of milliput. So I thought like, no, I want to do. I'm going full bottle cap on this bad boy. I want to try to do it out of just bits of shite that I find around, like a true scratch builder.
So what's the kind of genre of robot? Is it like kind of 50s
well, he's got
robot?
He's got like a generator.
Robot?
So again, Bill makes stuff on YouTube, and I think that the rules for his bot bash, if you want to have a go, are on Instagram.
Yeah, I didn't think I've seen any of his stuff, but the name rang a bell.
Weirdly, he's actually got like a twin brother who also makes stuff on YouTube, sort of very similarly. So it's super confusing as to which one it is. I think he's called like Dan Makes Stuff or something as well, which is also super confusing. But yeah, I mean, the models that he makes are sort of fairly big, but it goes on a sort of it's a 32mm base game that he's making called the Gutterlands.
Finance, cutting into technology. Accurate information is the Large Blast podcast news. Hear every episode.
So Space Marine 2 fans, hold on to your controllers because there is a new Techmarine class just announced. Welshie, how have you been? Have you had a go on this Techmarine class yet?
I am fully leveled on Prestige 1, Stoney, level 25.
Naturally.
It's been a big grind. Me and Jimmy Big Nuts, we've been absolutely smashing it. This is free, right? This is what we can't get our heads around as people in their 30s playing Space Marine, right? We bought this game last year, even longer than last year ago, and we're just getting free content every quarter. Completely new class. So you play as other classes, but sod them because this is the Techmarine special, and they've just released a completely new playable class in the online mode, and it comes with its special weapon. So it's got a servo arm on one side, and it's got a servo gun on the other on its backpack. So its special triangle move is like the servo gun shoots. You can be attacking something on your right, and the gun's firing over on your left. That's badass.
So it's kind of like a turret on your back.
You've basically got a shoulder turret that, like, you press triangle and it, like, shoots whatever you want it to whilst you're fighting other shit. It's got an omniscient axe, which is brilliant. It's got a cool, like, charge move where he charges forward. And not only did they introduce a new character, but on all the levels, they've now randomly put in tarantula gun turrets. And if you're the tech marine, you can go and shove your mecha dendrite in.
Yeah.
And the gun turret comes to life and starts shooting stuff on the level as well. So this is just free update. They're making a bit of money because people are buying like cosmetic packs and stuff every quarter for a few quid if they want a specific legion or whatever. But yeah, for free, new level, new class, and the new level is fantastic. There's a bit where you're crossing the bridge behind a dreadnought. A helldrake flies down, and the dreadnought picks up a statue and smashes the helldrake over off of the bridge with it. And you just stand behind shouting for the emperor. It's such a good game. It's so much joy, and it's so good. It's brought Matt back into the fold from Parenthood.
Yeah, I updated it yesterday, the game, and I just took the Techmarine out for a run just before recording. I didn't try the shooting servo arm move. I'll have to try that later. It is really cool, and the omniscient axe is really destructive. It's really great. It's really great. I have to get to that special mission.
Mechanics, Tony, I know you haven't played it, but when you take down, if you're fighting like a warrior or even little things, when they're down to like 5% health, you do a finisher move, like Mortal Kombat style.
Nice.
And those finishes are kind of different for each class. And the Techmarine one, your servo arm comes over, grabs the Nid by the head, lifts it up off the ground, and then you slice its head off with your axe. Like,
nice.
It's really well done.
That sounds pretty good. So hang on. So what are the controls for this? Are they similar to, let's say, Skyrim or Fallout 4? Because if so, I'm on board. If not, then I don't know if it's worth my money.
I think you would be fine playing it. It's a standard. It's
pretty simple.
It's a standard third-person shooter.
Yeah.
I think you're overestimating me. I've tried many standard third-person shooters in my time. Fucked them all up.
You only really need like 6 buttons. If you can handle 6.
6? What? No, I don't. Oh, I don't know about this. I don't know about these newfangled buttons.
And it's not just. They've done a few updates, like you said, quarterly. I think people. I know. I've been talking to people that have got the game. Quite recently. I think people are still investing in it, and more people are hearing about it.
Yeah,
I know. I've spoken to people that just didn't know anything about the Warhammer universe and have bought the game.
It's obviously still very well supported. If it's getting free stuff, and people.
Yeah.
I mean, Welshie sounds like he's played it as much as any man can play a computer game, and yet he's still coming back for more.
490 hours now.
Oh my god!
I mean, yeah. So you see what I'm saying, and you're still involved. You're still loving it. So it must be doing something right.
Yeah, and I mean that's credit to the game.
Yeah,
the class thing, the online. Obviously, there's a story mode, and the campaign's excellent and worth playing. The versus mode online, I basically never play. Some people do, some people are into it. I don't really like it that much. But I play the player versus environment, which is a level you run through with either 2 computers or 2 mates or 2 random human beings. And they've added more and more of those levels over time. And I think what makes people... The thing that makes it good for new people starting is when they release a new class... You get that class on level 0. So even though I've got a full roster of other classes fully leveled up, when they release a new class, everybody's back down to 0 on that class. So it means that if you're just picking up the game, it's a good time to start is now because
Everybody's
there
a bit
lots of
shit
people are
with
playing with a
the
shit character
thingy
basically.
marine, yeah,
Yeah.
the
Mm.
Techmarine.
I would, and as you said about the gun turrets, the fact that you can repair stuff in game, that was quite cool, and that obviously helps you because then the gun turrets are shooting.
There's a bit, Matt, that if you haven't played the new level that they
No, I haven't.
released,
Yeah.
so there's a bit you come down that, you jump down onto it, and if you get there quickly, you get there before the Lehman Russes. So you're
So
stood literally on a bridge with a massive gate, and all the Lehman Russes like roll up behind you, and you're stood in front of the gate, and it's literally like hold the gate as these Russes are like shaking, firing behind you.
excellent.
It's really good.
Yeah, I've got to play that.
How much closer do you think this brings us to a remake of Fire Warrior? That's the real question, right?
I loved Fire Warrior.
Well, everyone's trying to work out what the Space Marine 3, which has been confirmed,
Yeah.
villains will be. So this one was Thousand Suns and Tyranids. Obviously, the first one was Orcs. So it could be time to smash some camel fish. But I reckon it'll be Necrons and Emperor's Children. That's
It's going to be the more evil ones. Do you know what I mean? It's hard to explain to Joe Public why you're killing camel fish that are all kind of
true.
And obviously in the campaign you go into like a Necron tomb, so there are like elements of other Xenos. But the thing you mentioned, Fire Warrior, and it's not disappointment, but the thing I kind of wished they'd done slightly differently. The Space Marine 1 and Space Marine 2 campaigns kind of run the same in that it starts with the Xenos invasion and then Chaos gets involved. Both games, Orc and Tyranid invasion, and then Chaos appears. And the same thing happens in Fire Warrior. There's a Tau invasion and then everything turns to Chaos. So actually the 3 game campaigns are all the same storyline. So
that's the storyline of every 40k novel ever.
No.
You're fighting one thing and you dig deeper, and oh no, it's chaos.
Yeah.
Well, maybe, but what would be nice in Space Marine 3 is if they don't have. Can you really have a Warhammer game without chaos?
It kind of works so well mechanically as well, though, when you think about it, because they're more evenly matched with a Space Marine because they've got like the same armor. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're making a computer game, it seems like Orcs, they're a bit shitter. There's loads of them, but they're all they're wearing fucking loincloths and leather trousers. Give it a couple of you take them out pretty easy.
Need the combination in the game of the 2 enemies being one an elite force and one a horde force to give that variation. But I think with the Tau, they could do Horde. Like, they could do loads of crew, or, like, you could have Horde Tau and then Chaos. Or Horde Tau and then Necrons, because Necrons are elite.
Also, how disappointing would it be if you started off fighting Chaos and then they were like, oh, no, it's the Tau. You'd be like, oh, what? I've got, like, the last boss fight is you versus some Tau
of course,
guy.
I guess the Fire Warrior is different because you play a Tau. So maybe being an Imperial fighting Tau, I'd be well into that.
It was all a big marketing ploy to try to shift some Tau models, wasn't it?
Yeah, just think how
great
I
enjoyed that game.
Oh, it was great. It's awesome.
So how many hours have you spent playing Space Marine?
Well, as I said, probably between 400 and 500, but closer to 500.
I don't know if Darktide is on PlayStation yet.
It is, yeah.
Is it? It's so similar to Space Marine. You'll really enjoy it. It's essentially the same game. There's no campaign. You're just in that multiplayer against other people, team of 4. And it's totally chaos. You're only fighting.
I've got another group of mates that play a lot of that, actually.
It's really good.
How's it going, Jones? Robbo? Yeah, and they've just released Hive Scum. They've got a new character as well, so they play a lot of Skaven Tide, but they're thinking of switching over to Dark Tide for a bit, so I might join them on that.
Because they've had a bit
of
practice.
Vermintide,
that's it. Because that looked fucking awesome. I was really tempted to play that for a long time. That was back when my old PC was new, and I ended up playing that other Warhammer game, Warhammer Total Warlords. It was between that, like if I had a moment to tear myself away from Warhammer Total War, I would have downloaded Vermintide in a second because it looked fucking awesome. And that they're the same guys that made Darktide, aren't they? I think.
Yeah.
So they've obviously got some chops, and it's their second go round. So you would have hoped that it's better than Vermintide. But I'm interested. I'd be interested in playing Darktide.
Yeah.
Well, there we are. Maybe that's the first actual cross-play LBP game. Let's get on Darktide.
Yeah.
So Henry Cavill is throwing his weight around in the writer's room, apparently over there at Amazon. The new show is apparently being worked on, and Henry Cavill is apparently telling everyone to read the codex. Get it right. Have you guys heard about this?
That's what I've heard, Stoney. I've seen 2 news reports. I've seen people saying, I've seen one that's like Henry Cavill is there till like midnight every night doing rewrites. And I've seen other ones that are Henry Cavill tells all writers to read the codex before they come to him with any law. Who knows if any of this is true, but if it is true or there's any sense behind it, at least we know he's fighting our corner.
Right, that's all right. Sounds like he's making himself quite a pain in the ass to work with, but at the same time, you've got to appreciate the effort. I mean, I actually think I'm quite glad that we're talking about the show again, because a while ago, I think it was Matt maybe was talking about the Fallout show.
Yeah,
talking about the Fallout show, and obviously we've been talking about games. As I said, Fallout. I'm good. I know about Fallout. That's one of the games I know the buttons for, baby. So ask me anything about Fallout, I'll tell you. And like, I watched the Fallout show recently, and I was really impressed with it. I thought it was. I mean, it's obviously like a TV show version of the thing, but I was really impressed with it, and that did give me a bit of hope for the future of the Warhammer show. But it also made me kind of think, like, because some of the elements that were missing from the show that are in the Fallout kind of game are sort of what made I think, although they did a really good job of making the TV show about the game, they didn't have the same feel as the game. Does that make sense? The game is quite grimdark. At least the early ones are. The Fallout 4, not so much, but like the earlier ones, there's a lot of kind of like really sort of like dark humor in it. Which is just like total, and there is some of that in the TV show, but it doesn't come across in the same way, doesn't hit in the same way. I feel more positive about the show, but also with a level of pensiveness.
See, I agree that I thought I enjoyed it. I watched the first season. The second season's dragged on a bit, and to be honest, I didn't finish it. Did that thing that the Amazon shows do, where they kind of hook you in with fast paced, and then it just gets very drawn out.
The first couple of episodes of the second season are really good. I thought they were, but at the same time, nothing happens through basically nothing happens through so much of it. But it's just like as long as you're prepared to turn off your brain and enjoy the ride, it's fun enough. Do you know what I mean?
I think you're right on I think it's more comedic, but again, because it is more based on Fallout 4 and New Vegas, I think, which definitely had that more comedy feel. But the thing with Fallout that made me concerned, I don't know if I've said this on the podcast before, is I think Fallout just about gets away with it because the Knights are the Brotherhood are few and far between, and they can put the money into those costumes, and that 50s style is quite easy to replicate. I think if you've got, if you're trying to do 1,000 of them in one place, it's a different kettle of fish.
I've got to be honest with you. I thought the props for the Brotherhood of Steel looked fucking wank. Like that practical power armor they had. And like, you know, I've done a bit of prop making, and I know how much like the budgets are razor thin. They want everything made out of like, you're like, oh, I've made this out of like one sheet toilet paper. And they're like, can we go down to a sheet of toilet paper?
Yeah, no, that's my point, Stoney. My point is that like that kind of egg carton feel works in a comedic 50s sci-fi.
Yeah.
But using that egg carton feel to build grimdark, I just can't see working.
I think it has to be like, I honestly wouldn't even like to see that many physical props like that. I
don't want to see a Space
Marine. I think it would have to be
Space Marine.
Like, because they've proved they've done the animation and stuff really well. And absolutely, I agree, Matt. No Space Marines. There shouldn't be any fucking big, janky, goofy looking Space Marine showing up. Like, unless there's really well done CGI battle scene or something. But I don't want to see that. Like, I don't want it to be like Roger Rabbit, where they're all acting around some weird CGI.
I think there's an argument where, like, in my head, I imagine a scene where, you know, in the shadows, in the background, in the shadows, you can see the outline of a Space Marine. And through the certain scene, you realize that actually it's a real life Space Marine. It's not a statue.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really do much. It's like there. Maybe then there's a very quick fight scene where this Space Marine just emerges from the shadow, destroys whatever is attacking the characters, or does something. You get to understand the sheer non-human nature and sheer power of the Space Marine without seeing all of its goofy armor.
If I was the Amazon boss, I would take the fact that I had the IP for the Grimdark, and I would make a live action Eisenhorn.
Yeah.
And I would pay Samaya to run a proper team and make a CGI Astartes, and I would release them both at the same time and say these are the same universe, but they're not going to cross paths. We're making an excellent investigative human scale show that references the Space Marine show, but the Space Marine show is its own CGI thing.
Yeah, I guess that would, because it's difficult, because Space Marines are the hook, isn't it? I can see they're in a sort of a difficult situation here, really. Because I think, definitely as a fan, I would completely agree with what you just said, Welshie. That is the way to do it. But like thinking in terms of someone new who might have got into like remember when we were kids and stuff, we've talked about this before as well. It's just the fact that this might be a thing. You'd be so desperate if somebody said, oh, we'll show you Space Marines shooting each other on TV, we would have just been like, yes, I don't care what it is, even if it's the goofy suits. So it's kind of like I do see arguments to be made for having Space Marines, at least to some degree. Or maybe it could just be a show about the guy that polishes their armor and the armor's just there looking all goofy in the background or something. But like I think there has to be something.
The best hope for the live action for me is that because Amazon have the links through the Lord of the Rings stuff now with Weta Workshop and Weta Digital, is that if they go Space Marine, it is fully rendered Weta Digital mocap, motion captured Space Marines with maybe face replacements. So it's a fully digital Space Marine in the real world, Avatar style, you know. But that's big bucks to do.
That cost a lot of money, that movie, didn't it? Avatar.
I think we can all agree.
Very bland, shitty movie. That cost a lot of fucking money.
Yeah, exactly. We should all agree that Amazon should just take the budget away from Rings of Power and give it to Henry Cavill. Stop flogging a dead horse.
I like to imagine him
spend it all on codexes for everybody.
When I
rolling in my 6-4.
The Large Blast podcast, we've been going for a long time now, and we've covered some crazy lore over the years. But you've got to get your fundamentals down, you know. It's like boiling an egg. A really good chef will do that even really basic thing very, very well, whilst you're still probably boiling eggs in puddles with a lighter like some kind of mad fool. And that's why we're going to be talking today about Techmarines, because we see them all the time, but do we ever really stop to ask them who they really are? To ask them what he's doing here and why he's fucking around with my car? Do we ever just stop and give them a cup of tea, shake one of their many hands, and just get to know them, you know, find out what their favourite colour is? You suspect it's red because of their red armour, but actually they tell you it's green. That blows your mind. Prejudice destroyed. But also this episode comes with a caveat, and that is despite being long in the tooth, big-time Warhammer podcasters that we are, from time to time we might mix up the phrase Techmarine with the phrase Tech Priest. But just remember, this is the Techmarine episode, so any references to Tech Priests is just you hearing things wrong because they sound so similar. So let's get started, shall we? What is a Techmarine? I don't know. Matt, what is a Techmarine? It's like a marine, right, with a couple of arms coming off his back. He's got...
They're red. I know they're red.
Red. Their knees go both ways. What? That's crazy.
They probably do.
Yeah, I always felt that would be a better design for a knee, you know, if it just hinged in both directions. So you could like walk without moving the top half of your legs.
You could just walk backwards then without turning your head.
I feel like that humanity would be in a better position. We'd certainly be better off for knees. I feel everyone that says there's smart eyes and wings are an argument for smart creation. I point to the knee and say the knee is a bad design.
We're going off on a bit of a tangent, but you would have thought that the emperor who redesigned humanity to be a superhuman space marine, would have designed as part of the 38 or 23 or however many body parts that he grows and puts in a space marine, that one of those would be, or two of those would be new knees.
I think so.
Yeah, you would have thought so.
That would have been my
maybe that's the next thing. The Primaris 2 Belisarius calls updated Space Marines.
About time.
360 degree. They'll just
all these
be
implants. Can't even
joints.
Work out the fucking knee. What a loser.
Well, you know who probably could redesign a knee?
Go on then.
That's a Techmarine.
Well, that's
probably
it.
redesign a knee.
Let's say I'm I'm kicking about on Earth. I'm a space marine, I guess, and I wanna
Yeah.
redesign the knee. I want to become a tech marine. How does one go about that?
Well, presumably because you're interested in redesigning a knee, you've shown some aptitude and skill or interest in technology enough that in your chapter, it's been noticed by your superiors. If you're on Terra, you might be in the Imperial Fists. So you're during your early years as a young Space Marine, maybe even as a trainee Space Marine, whatever the Imperial Fists call them. Your aptitude is noticed, and then you're selected to leave the chapter. You are shipped off, in your case, not very far, to Mars, and you begin training with the Adeptus Mechanicus. And prior to the Horus Heresy, the Mechanicum of Mars, because the Techmarines have been around since the days of the legions. You undergo a 30-year process of learning technology, designing knees, and then learning the bad aspects of your knee design that clashes with the dogma and religious superstition of the AdMech, because they'll also teach you about the religious side of their machine-loving society. So you become, I don't. It's like, what's it like? It's like going to school abroad. I don't know. You become.
But it's
Fully immerse yourself in
Yeah.
technology kind
Yeah.
of thing.
It's a bit
Yeah.
like joining Scientology to learn how to pyramid sell people,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
not actually believe in any of the religious side of things, right? Because the tech marines, you're hanging out with a tech priest all day. They're teaching you how to use a spanner. They're trying to convert you. They're like, this is how you use a spanner, and whilst you do it, you should say, praise the Omnissiah.
Yeah. Drip
And
some
you're
oil on
like,
it.
no, 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 I just want to know how to use the spanner. I'm not into all the Omnissiah shit. I believe in the
Yeah.
Emperor. And they're like, no, 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 but the Emperor is the Omnissiah. That's the bit you're not getting. It's
Yeah.
That's got to get annoying.
I've always just assumed the tech priests believe it, like tech priests
No, I think they
believe it
do.
kind of thing. Like,
No,
I think-
you're saying that they're like, no, we're not into that.
No, I think they do.
I
but
think they still praise the Emperor. They still burn incense, but
Yeah.
I don't know if they believe in the Omnissiahs. Are they?
No, I
Matt?
think no, they do. They do. But we'll get on to
Okay.
where.
Okay, hang on. Wait 1 second. I'm taking us further off script here, but like, is the Omnissiah not the Emperor? As in, like, now he's a kind of
Not
a
necessarily.
living ghost. He kind of lives inside machines.
No.
No, all right. Forget I said that then.
No, I think that's a good point, though. I mean, yeah. I mean, people have
is that
different
not like
beliefs
a piece
of it.
of like really old lore that he's kind of like the Omnissiah is the Emperor because he's like in.
Well,
Like,
that's
he's kind of in the internet, you know.
But as we've spoke about that recently, it must have been in the Mars episode. He's the Emperor has sort of made or helped insinuate that he is the Omnissiah. He might be the Omnissiah, but I don't know if it's like he's certainly the Emperor.
No
That's
one
a
has
certainty.
ever said he is also. It's never written down. Also, he's also the Omnissiah.
Yeah, he could be. Some people don't think he is. They're the heretics. I think the tech priests.
I guess what I was saying is it's a depth of belief. I think
Yes.
a tech priest is really like he is everything, he is overseeing everything, whereas a tech marine might whisper a prayer in the same way. Don't know. I salute a
I
magpie
think
for
they
luck.
well. Let's get into it anyway. Because I think over that 30 years that they do spend there, they do get, and yeah, I mean each tech marine to a lesser or more extent, depending on their own character, maybe depending on the chapter or the planets that they originally grew up in, they might be more inclined to believe in superstition, depending on where they've grown up before they were turned into a space marine. But I think a lot of them do, after 30 years of that indoctrination, become part of the AdMech. They are space marines, but they are space marines of their chapter and of the AdMech.
So, do you have to be a space marine first, or could
Yeah.
you go straight to being?
No,
Okay.
You have to be a space marine so that you're selected from Space Marines.
Yeah, and then the most technical ones of them become tech priests.
Yeah. So if
Oh,
you
Techmarines, sorry.
Yeah, and I think every chapter does it differently, like as with everything else. So I think I can't remember the chapter, but one of the chapters has like a selection every year. And other chapters will just pick that if someone looks like if a new Space Marine looks like they have skill in technology, they'll just tell them there and then that you've got to go off to Mars. The thing that's quite interesting is that it is still Mars. It's not any other Forge world. They go to Mars, which is also why they're red. Red is the color of the Forge of Mars, and therefore of the Admech, and that's why they wear red to a lesser extent in some chapters, but mostly they'll always have some sort of red on them, and that's their link to the Admech. But because they spend 30 years away, they get quite distant from their original chapter. By the time they come back, they're kind of a distant figure with their men. They don't really mix with the other Space Marines. They're kind of separate because they have a dual loyalty. They have a loyalty to their chapter to different extents. They'll still have some sort of chapter symbolism on them. Apparently that's so that they don't upset the spirit of the armor, but it's also because they were originally from that chapter, so they normally have one of their shoulder pads, but some chapters they might just have one red shoulder pad rather than the traditional trim. Or a trim. And we'll get onto the different types of tech priests that there are.
I think that's
Techmarines.
A good point with the chapters, though, Matt. Like, and different, because I think different chapters respect them to different amounts, right? I guess at one end you've got like the Iron Hands, all about the Techmarines. I mean, they love chopping bits of themselves off and sticking robot limbs in.
Yeah.
I mean, they call it like their leaders are the Iron Fathers, aren't they? I don't think all Iron Fathers are Techmarines, but they're all like they're pretty tech savvy as a legion.
The whole legion, yeah.
And then like the other end of the scale, maybe. I was talking to my mate who's a Dark Angels player the other day when we were playing online with the new character, and he was saying that apparently the Dark Angels, they hate the Techmarines in their legion because they're like not allowed into the inner circle, which is like pot kettle black. But because the Techmarines go away and learn secret knowledge and can't share the secrets with the Dark Angels, they shun them.
Not allowed their secrets.
Like, well, no, you're not telling me your secrets. I'm not telling you our secrets.
Well,
they love their motorbikes and stuff. The Dark Angels.
They love riding them, but they don't like talking to the mechanic.
Yeah. But I think in all chapters, and like you're saying, to varying degrees, they're kind of aloof. They're separate. But you mentioned the bikes of the Deathwing,
the Raven
the Raven Wing, as an example, because obviously the main reason. Well, the only reason the legions and then the chapters were sending the Techmarines to Mars was so that the legions could maintain the ability to repair, in some cases build, but maintain the ability of the legion to move quickly through space on the Crusades, on the Great Crusade, without having to wait all the time for the Admech and the Imperial human armies to and the fleets to keep up with them, because the Space Marines were more of an elite force that could move quicker. They needed their own way to support the Legion in terms of guns, tanks, and that role is the same essentially in 40K, albeit for a chapter. They send the Tech Marines to Mars to learn how to maintain their war gear. That's their main task in the chapters in 40K.
Part of that reflects the secrecy of Mars around everything it knows, right? Because a Space Marine is quite capable of like uploading the information, but it's Mars going, well, we're not going to give you the information. We'll give it to like a few of you because we don't want to be put out of work, I guess.
I guess, now you said it like that. It's kind of another way. It's almost another compromise for the Emperor, where he compromised allowing the Admech to have their religion, so that Mars and Earth could fight together and not against each other, and having the Space Marines go back to be educated by Mars is like another way that Mars has some control in that. The Space Marines are a very Earth Terra armored force because they existed pre-unification with Mars. So it's kind of Mars, the way that Mars can imprint on that human force.
Yeah, they don't want to give away all their secrets because otherwise they'd be like, what have they got left?
Yeah. But so in the chapters and the legions, they have they obviously have servitors and they have menials to help them, but they are basically maintaining everything. From a warship to the bolt guns, maintaining them and building new stuff, again depending on the chapter, and they are heavily involved in maintaining and awakening the dreadnoughts.
New stuff then, because I always sort of assumed that they were almost like museum curators.
No, they are. They are, but they will because some Space Marine chapters do build their own stuff, like the Grey Knights. They have that forge world that helps supply them, but they do build stuff.
Still be a Techmarine that did that. It wouldn't just be.
Well, they'd be overseeing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
so I think I've got. I'm realizing listening to this that I've had a very weird opinion of what a tech priest is, a Techmarine is until.
Well, what is that? What is your opinion?
I say, I sort of thought that they were more to do with like old stuff and more like a kind of a curator and like.
I mean, they are as well.
But I also thought, I think this might be like super old lore that I'm thinking of is like about this kind of idea of them not really being for new stuff at all, and it being
this is where this kind of goes back to Welsh's point about because they have that dual loyalty. Some of them do end up having a bit of a clash with the AdMech because they find that the AdMech is as we know, is like a steeped in dogma and doesn't want to create. But there's been cases where Tech Marines have just gone essentially against their teaching of the AdMech and have just said, no, we're a Space Marine chapter. We're fighting like constantly. We have a chance to design something or invent something slightly new to help us fight better. Yeah. We're gonna do it. So
it's funny that because they can make that argument. They're interesting as characters. That's why I think they used quite a lot in the books because they could make that argument from both sides, right?
Yeah,
they can make that argument from. It kind of depends on their training, doesn't it? Because they can make that argument from, I'm a Space Marine, I'm not going to let you tell me what to do. But they could equally make that argument from, like, if their teacher, when they were doing their apprenticeship, was like Belisarius Cool, who basically doesn't give a fuck about not inventing new things, then they're not going to give a fuck. So you can imagine that, like, some Tech Marines from, like, hard line chapters, I don't know, like, the Ultramarines... Frank Ultramarine goes away and like his commander's expecting him to come back and build every STC perfectly. Yeah. And he's like, well, no, what if we put extra bright headlights on it? Wouldn't that be better? He's just getting like slapped out.
I smoke weed, eat pussy every day.
So a couple of examples. There's a character in the Black Templars called Artificer Simagnus. He is credited with the discovery of the STC database that allowed the creation of the Land Raider Crusader during one of the Black Templar Crusades. So he found the STC. They started pumping out Land Raider Crusaders, which is
hang on. Someone said to him, he goes, I've just designed this new version of the Land Raider. And they're like, oh, what should we call it? And he's like, well, I don't know. What are we doing? Oh, well, we're Crusaders. Yes. That's it. Yeah. We're Crusaders.
Yeah. It falls in line with classic kind of car naming convention, though.
Yeah.
That's true.
But you all know the model that this is the Land Raider that used to have all the bolters. The bolters on the side, and the one that you could only use in the Black Templars, and that's why is because they're the only chapter that uses it because they kind of invented it. And another example is I can't remember what chapter it was, but the Space Marine chapter, the Techmarines helped to create the Predator, which is the Rhino tank that's got all of the las cannons on. the Predator Annihilator. They basically created that version of the Predator, and it took the AdMech like 100 years to agree to allow this modification, but they were just letting other Space Marine chapters copy it, and
It
they were just
sounds
like, we're just going to build more of these because they're great.
It sounds like the design input from the Space Marine is to go to the AdMech, and then the AdMech's like, we've got this tank, and the Space Marine goes, well, let's put more guns on it.
Yeah,
And the AdMech's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
ooh,
yeah.
I'm not sure
Oh, I
about
don't
that.
know about
It's like,
that.
well, it's got a single las cannon. What about if we put 2 las cannons?
Yeah.
What about if we
Yeah.
put 12 heavy bolters?
Meanwhile, the AdMech guys have got steam coming out of their ears. Like, I can't believe this.
It's not on the plans.
The enemy are using 3 heavy bolters. We've got to put on 4.
Yeah.
Before you know it.
Because they're so heavily involved in maintaining the chapter, and that's part of their allegiance. That's one of their allegiances. They do tend to always want to do whatever they can to improve the chances of the chapter in their primary goal, which is in warfare. So the creation of the Tech Marines tends to be improving the weapon systems that the chapters have. I mean, they're not doing it all the time. They are mostly, like you say, sort of museum curators that are maintaining stuff and the artifacts, and also they'll be maintaining all the power armor. They've got so much to do. I didn't really see how many Tech Marines are in each chapter, but there's enough, and differing sources. And this was the thing that I never really understood about the 1,000 Space Marines in a chapter. Although we know some chapters are bigger, is that the tanks and all the equipment are driven by Space Marines. So suddenly you don't have a lot of Space Marines to do all of the stuff the Space Marines need to do, because some of them are driving tanks, they're flying those silly planes that they have. They're actually on the field. But some sources say that
so inside a Rhino,
Techmarines drive
a Space Marine.
Yeah.
That's why you get the little, like, when you switch
get
out the little turret, and you get the funny little guy with his shoulders.
I thought he was his mate. I just thought he was the ticket collector or something. I didn't realise he was the driver.
They do use more servitors than like Imperial Guard stuff, for example. They have, and their crews are less. They have less crew. I think a Rhino and a Predator has like 2 or 3 crew, whereas the Lehman Russ has probably got like 5. But they are Space Marines, and yeah, that's where that number. There's not a lot of Space Marines to do a lot of things, and some of the sources say that some of the people driving those tanks are actually the junior Tech Priests, Tech Marines, the junior Tech Marines.
Okay, like Tech Marine scouts almost.
Yeah, like that means that there must be quite a lot of Tech Marines, but yeah, so I don't really know, but there are. I guess,
like, that's a good point to think about, like how they play on the board, because like on the board when you've got a Tech Marines in your army, they tend to fulfill like one of 2 roles. They're either just modelled as part of some kind of turret, so like the autocannon turrets that you get now, they've got a Tech Marine strapped in and he's got it all plugged into his head and stuff.
Because they're painted red.
Yeah, because they're red on that. So they're either like visually part of a model, or the playable ones tend to fulfill that like mechanic role. So there was that phase, it might still be the case, where people were running like 3 dreadnoughts is in a triangle with a Tech Marine in the middle, and every time the dreadnoughts took damage, the Tech Marine healed them next turn. So they either play like a healing role, a improvement to weapon skill role, or they're just visually part of like a gun turret strapped in.
Yeah, but what's the
following a tank around? I remember that was a thing. Again, I think they gave tanks. They just gave all vehicles a healing just role or something.
They normally heal stuff.
But they also used to have that the cannon, the Thunderfire cannon. Didn't you have that?
Yeah, they used to man the Thunderfire cannon, and that was a cool thing, because then the Thunderfire cannon got destroyed. You had a kind of cheeky little Tech Marine running around at the back. And they're often given like quite a powerful gun, aren't they? You can often have the option of taking some powerful weaponry.
Well, this is.
Am I not right in thinking that they could be an HQ choice at one stage?
Yeah,
maybe.
So maybe that
they definitely could do. Like I say, like running them behind a dreadnought as your warlord. I used to do it quite a lot, because you'd quite frequently have like in the older game where your warlord dying was a much bigger thing. It was worth quite a lot of points. It
Yeah.
often paid you to keep your tanks at the back shooting long range, and you'd pick your Techmarine as your warlord because he was basically hiding at
Yeah,
the
he's
back
just at
on
the
the
back.
backfield.
Yeah.
Because you never wanted your like assault captain to be your warlord because he was going to
Yeah.
die. There was no way he wasn't gonna.
In terms of lore, because they do go for training for so long on Mars, they are an officer. So they're kind of above the normal Space Marines in terms of hierarchy. Depending on the chapter, they may be included in the higher echelons of the command structure. Like you're saying about the Dark Angels, don't really trust them. Other chapters, like the Iron Hands, definitely will
Iron Hands
trust
love
them.
them. Salamanders are quite big fans, I think, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because they're all like artificer guys. They like building their own guns and stuff.
Yeah, I imagine in like the Ultramarines, they'll probably allow tech Marines to get quite high up in command, but
It is funny, like you
they're
say,
all officers.
thinking about them in terms of their chapter, because I'm trying to think of like a World Eaters Tech Marine or the Night Lords
Well, they're
Tech
slightly
Marine.
they're
different, aren't they? Because they have warp smiths.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
they're on the
obviously
board.
now, yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean, like, so this is post heresy. There wouldn't have been a Tech Marine.
well, no, they would have been in the Legion, and there are some models of them, so we can have a look at them. So they would have
But
had
you
them
know
in
what
the
I mean?
Legion.
So yeah, so
Yeah.
I mean, people like the Night Lords must have had Tech Marines.
Yeah,
Yeah, but you
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
visualize one because you're not used to seeing them. Yeah, I see what
You're
you're
not-
saying.
yeah.
Maybe that's it. I
yeah.
just can't imagine what they would do in the army. They'd be like, well, we're busy like kind of coat ourselves with blood and
Yeah.
stuff. And he's like, well, I've made a new calculator that says when you type in boobs, it actually shows a
Yeah.
hologram of some boobs.
Well, we just sort of mentioned what they do in the game, so you can imagine what they might do in combat. But other combat that they're quite heavily involved in is when the Marines are going into boarding action. So they're boarding enemy spacecraft, specifically alien spacecraft, but any spacecraft, where being able to kind of understand how things work on an enemy ship is actually quite important. So they're quite important for that, where Space Marines are trying to take enemy ships, but also in the Death Watch, they're useful for understanding or retrieval of alien technology and kind of understanding what might be important. And that could be for future research, or like with the boarding enemy ships, it could be just helping the chapter understand the environment that they're fighting in, to give them a better chance. Having them there, they're just an engineer. Like in modern warfare, having engineers in warfare is very useful.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's the same thing.
Yeah, and I guess other factions have things that fulfill similar roles, like the guard. But I'm not sure about guard, Matt. Do
No, the
guard have
guard, yeah.
engineers?
Yeah. So I don't even know if it's in the latest codex, but traditionally, the guard would have, it's a model called Tech Seer. They're not a full tech priest, but they're essentially the same thing. If we've played, so remember when I was running all those
Yeah.
Lehman Russ, I think I would have had one, because you could do the same thing. You could heal your tanks. That it must be in the new codex, because they've always been in the guard codex. They're very cheap, not a strong character at all. Like, the 3 wound human, but you can repair the tanks with them, the same as a Techmarine. But a Techmarine is actually quite a strong character on the board.
Yeah, I mean they're often quite good in combat and range, from what I remember, because they've got. Well, the thing that's interesting about the modern models is they all have the servo harness, right?
Yeah,
So it's like a backpack with arms.
yeah,
Often has a servo claw that does quite powerful close range damage, and also some kind of long range, normally like single shot silly weapon, right?
Yeah, it's got
Yeah.
a bit of a kind of a cat-handed mechadendrite on it, doesn't it? It's like a kind of a sort of a grabber arm from down the pair.
Yeah, that's right.
They have plasma cutters, stuff that they can cut open and weld with, that then they just use in combat. The big gun is normally like a conversion beamer. I remember the Grey Knight Techmarine you could give them a conversion beamer, which is that gun that had a massive range. The further you away, the more powerful it got.
Yeah. Which was great because they were always hiding at the back of the board. So you'd be
Yeah.
shooting like 72 inches with this thing and be like,
Yeah.
it's way more powerful than you could ever have
Yeah.
imagined.
Yeah.
And apparently not every tech priest can take a weapon like that. That tends to be the higher up in the tech priest hierarchy. Techmarine, I keep calling him a tech priest. Techmarine hierarchy. So maybe the lead Techmarine of a chapter will have a conversion beamer, and they'll have more. They'll have things like a servo harness, which is just like loads of servo arms. They kind of have more of everything, which is typical of a Space Marine character. We should talk about the Omniscient Axe, which is what we've mentioned for playing the Space Marine game.
Yeah, very
which
iconic.
Is like, it's like their thing. It's just a big.
Sort
they
of
do use it.
It's blade, isn't it?
Yeah,
really?
Yeah. It is. It is symbolic, but it can be used to repair stuff.
It's kind of like the point
sign of office.
So they bludgeon people with the giant cog, right? But they often have a spike on the top, which is a data spike that they can like inload and exload data from things, right? It's basically a massive USB stick with a cog on it that they hit people with. That's basically what it is. Like the chaplains have got holy sticks, holy skulls on sticks, and these guys have got holy USB sticks.
And they that's the servo arm and that Omniscient Axe. That's like their classic silhouette, but they also kind of have pumped up power armor, pimped up power armor called Artificer armor, which is just like a slightly more bespoke power armor. And you see that in the models.
They have the really cool helmets. That's like triple plated front grille.
Yeah,
which is really cool.
And part of the reason for that, one, they're an officer, and some of them get quite high up in chapters, but also they need power armor that can support all the things like the servo arms and the servo harness, and they have all of that stuff so that they can lift tanks and repair tanks in the field.
And we've also been saying they are the guys that like make and fix the armor and stuff as well. So you would expect them to have a pretty tight fit, you know. They're out there in some rusty old shit.
Yeah, their finest work is their own armor. Yeah. So the ones that do get to the top in the hierarchy tend to be called the Master of the Forge. So it's the most senior Techmarine in a Space Marine chapter, and they're really the ones in charge of all of their other Techmarines, because they're kind of aloof from everyone else. They tend to kind of stick together, so they all hang out, although they can still be aloof between each other because they're just sort of weird characters. The Master of the Forge tends to also have the right, and maybe also just the only one with the ability to awake the ancient dreadnoughts. So before chapters go to war, they have to wake up the grumpy dreadnoughts, and some of them may have been asleep for ages. So that's one of the things they do that's not just repairing stuff. What the fuck? Well, the thing that I wanted to mention about the Iron Fathers and the Iron Hands, in addition to what you said, was that you just mentioned the chaplains and how they have their weapon of office, essentially the Rosaurus of the ecclesiarchy, and the Omniscient Axe is the same for a Techmarine. But it's funny in the Iron Hands that the Techmarines, the Iron Fathers, combine the role of chaplain and Techmarine. So they're kind of a weird mashup. Similarly in the Space Wolves, they kind of diverge a bit from the Codex Astartes, where their Techmarines are called Iron Priests, and they're kind of way off from the beaten path of the Admech. Their allegiance is very much still to the Space Wolves, so they are basically all the Space Wolf Grey still. their allegiance is very much to Russ, but they do have a different weapon than the Omniscient Axe. They hold a Tempest Hammer. Their tech priests, Techmarines, are really different to other chapters. And I mentioned the Grey Knights as well, because they're different as well, because they're psychers, because all Grey Knights are,
Right.
and because they fight and manufacture their own weaponry as a secret chapter. Don't know for sure, but they must have so much more free reign than other Techmarines in other chapters.
Is
And
there a
they
model for a Grey Knight Techmarine?
no, but they've always been in the Codex, and they're another chapter that I don't even think, like, people have done conversions. You can see them online, but even in the artwork in the codexes, they just look like a Grey Knight, like a Grey Knight Terminator with loads of servo arms on. They're
probably called a
not
Nemesis
red.
servo arm, though.
Yeah.
You have to put Nemesis in front of anything if you're a Grey Knight.
And in the game, they have, I don't know if they still do, but they had their own psychic power called Reconstruction, which was they could use the power of the warp to enhance himself or enhance vehicles, or at least that's what it does in the lore. I don't know how that came across on the tabletop, but they're a psychic Techmarine.
That's pretty cool. I'm imagining that, like that bit in X-Men when Magneto like takes apart all the pieces like in midair, like they're using telekinesis to like rebuild.
Exactly. Yeah,
stuff.
you could, definitely imagine that.
I was also thinking that what you said about the Iron Fathers being a bit like a chaplain and a tech priest at the same time. I guess that's because if like you've removed 80% of your body and replaced it with robot limbs, you kind of don't really have much of a soul anymore. You don't need a chaplain; you need a mechanic to look after yourself. Yeah,
that point as well is fairly typical of Techmarines. They, from whatever chapter, they tend to experiment with replacing their own flesh. So they definitely take that aspect from the Admech cult back with them to the chapters. I can't imagine the Space Wolves doing that, but other Space Marines will be cutting their arms off and replacing them with bionics, which, to be honest, is the thing I've never understood about the Iron Hands, because in the lore, the Space Marines are like superhuman, and they're blood clots straight away. Why would you cut your limbs off and swap it with mechanical limbs if you're already the greatest?
The flesh is weak.
Yeah, they're fully in the Omnisire stuff. They're just well into it.
Like you see some of the artwork of the Iron Hands, just the normal Space Marines, and like their arms are all bionic. It's cool artwork, but I don't know. I've always looked at that and thought, like, it just seems crazy.
Have you ever got like a really nasty paper cut and you're like, curse these human hands of mine, if only they were made of metal?
That's a fair point.
We've talked a lot about all of these like appendages and servo arms and omniscient axes and special artificer armor, right? But I've got a blast from the past for you.
Oh, nice.
The 70s.
The 80s. The 90s.
Oh, we're going back in time.
Is that a space squat?
It's time we take you back with a blast from the past.
Here it is, boys. The original 1989 Rogue Trader Techmarine, fully equipped with a plumber's torch, from what I can tell. He's got a canister. It's got a little like flame bit on the top. It's essentially a blowtorch.
He's got a massive blowtorch. Looks like he's got a shoulder pad. Is one of his shoulder pads?
Yes, one of his shoulder. The old Techmarine shoulder pads had hands on, like metal claws over the shoulder.
Well, he's got a big metal claw hand. He's got his blowtorch, so he's ready to do some welding.
He's got some kind of bionic eye.
He's got the kind of cool dad ski glasses. He's a magnificent gentleman.
And he also came with a partner who, I don't know if you can see this one, Rogue Trader era Techmarine, who has a map in his hand or maybe some kind of blueprints. So forget your conversion beamer and your servo harness.
Smacking with
because
a
this Tech
blueprint.
Marine's got some parchment rolled up
Yeah.
under his arm. So
Hey,
those
you
were the
know,
first two, I believe.
30
I've
years
got
in
both of these.
30
Yeah.
years in Techmarine school, and all I got was this fucking welder.
I've got a welding torch and some rolled up parchment.
Yeah.
Simpler times.
Hey, good for them. And that was back in the day, you could fix a car with a welder and a bit of paper back then. It was different times.
Maybe it's actually a roll of duct tape.
Yeah.
Yeah, stick this tank back together. That'll do. That'll do.
That would do it. The welder
let's-
is considerably bigger than his gun, which
Is
But
the
there
right
were
way
loads
for it
of
to be.
these, right? So we're now looking at the third one of these pewter Tech Marines. So there's one with the blowtorch, there's one with the
A little
parchment.
bolter.
Then there's just a fella here with a tiny gun, and he's just got loads of essentially like cartons with gauges stuck to him.
and a hammer. He's got a hammer on his
He's got
hip.
he's got a little hammer on his hip. You're right.
Yeah.
He's got some kind of sensor on his head. This, I think, is a true example of. We often say like when they throw too much at a model. This was too much. It was like,
Yeah.
what are all the Tech Marine bits? But it was weird. It's weird that like for something that you really only run one of in your army these days, unless you've got some weird like tech build, that within those early first few years of Rogue Trader, there were 3 different Tech Marine models made.
But I mean, I think that it's an interesting model, and it obviously fulfills a role on the battlefield that has existed from the very beginning of the rules being needed. Someone that is basically like a medic for your tanks. That has essentially people have that's obviously been of interest to people or seemed like a gameplay mechanic that would be worthwhile since the very beginning. And although his role has changed, he has always essentially just been the guy carrying his packed lunch with a hammer and a couple of spanners on him.
So anyway, after those ones without very much stuff, there's then this first model that Matt's showing us looking at now, which is the real silhouette with the Omniscient axe and the servo arm. But the servo arm's kind of almost 2D to the backpack. It's not like a
2D.
kind of spider arms coming over the shoulders. In very much in line with the flat. And
Classic
that model was also
sidearm.
the first one with the well, it's not a dick towel, gentlemen. It's I don't know what we
the
call
hanging
this.
thing.
It's an armored dick towel.
It is an armored dick towel.
He has, yeah.
Yeah. This is saying it's 2nd edition, but I remember this from 3rd edition. This is the model I think about when I think about Techmarine, which is again very 2D. He's pointing his left arm bolt pistol, and he's got an Omniscient axe and a very 2D servo arm.
So we're now up to 7 models by 2nd edition. 7 Techmarine models
crazy.
by 7th edition. 2nd edition.
There was one, and then there was one. I don't know if there was one in between then, but there's one.
Yeah, that's definitely way newer, that guy.
I think this is like 15 years old, because this definitely came out when it was metal.
This was a cool kit that we're looking at now, which is essentially a squad of servitors led by a Techmarine.
I think this is 5th edition. This
That's
might have
something
been
that would be really cool to see come back. How they'd although they tried to redo servitors the other day and they just re-released the servitors.
The kill
so
team, didn't it? Yeah,
I haven't got much hope. But this was the guy with the massive Doc Ock arms with a proper claw, and I think he's got a melter on one.
So this is like the first model with an actual servo harness. So there's loads of different arms. Yeah, and you could use the servitors in game. And now there's obviously a Primaris version.
The Primaris Techmarine is a wonderful model.
Yeah.
It's really cool. He's got a heavy bolter on the shoulder harness. He's got an arm. The axe is great. Slightly less cog-like than the old axes.
Yeah.
But,
and there's no servo arm. He's got a couple of mechadendrites, but servo harness. There's one servo arm that is goes back to the style of it being connected to the backpack, like some of the earlier models. And actually, that's quite nice. It's not just full of loads of arms. Maybe there's too many arms on the metal finecast version. But actually, when I had a quick look on the current Warhammer shop, and there's loads of tech priests because they're all heresy. So this is a Horus Heresy Techmarine. Again, it's got an armored dick towel, massive hammer. It's quite a nice model. It's got like a hologram control panel. So they're all from Horus Heresy. They've got different marks of power armor. Similar thing. So they've got the servo arms. They've got a version of an axe. It's not the same sort of omniscient axe as we see in 40K. And of course, there's always been different Iron Priests.
Yes,
so the Space Wolves. I think there's an earlier model.
Claw.
Yeah, this is just is this Horus Heresy?
No, that's 40K, mate.
That's 40K.
That's the
right.
Latham paint job.
Yeah.
That's like.
But I swear there's another one. But yeah, this is the Space Wolf version.
I like that he's gone for just the standard wolf skin dick towel rather than the sort of plaited metal.
Yeah.
Like sometimes when we do this, we just kind of come across stuff as we're doing it, and it really just hadn't occurred to me quite how many models of this are. Like, there's more variations of Techmarine than there are Chaplain. There's more variations than there are. What's the medics called these days? The ones.
Oh,
that
the
suck up
apothecary,
the globules.
definitely.
There's more than the apothecaries.
Yeah.
There's like close to the amount of generic captain models. Like we're on like 15 different variations of Techmarine model.
It speaks to something in the 40K lore that has always been a part of it, which is this idea of machines being these kind of relics, and whether they're making new ones or just how important technology is in the future. So it's always been a massive part of it. It's not a huge surprise that there's that many models, because also it's like, like we're just saying, there's sometimes this disconnect between the lore and what it is on the battlefield. But actually, the Tech Priest is fucking perfect, as in it's in the lore, it is what it is on the battlefield.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, sometimes lore and rules come together really nicely, and I think the Techmarine's a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
So much so that it's basically stolen in other factions. Like, the Eldar have the equivalent. They've got the I mean, it's ridiculous and stupid in Eldar, but they've got the Bone Singers. And the Bone Singers literally sing to the Wraithbone to rebuild the structures. Like, it's something that's as different as that has its own version, because a model on the board that can fix, as you said, Stoney, fix your tanks, whatever form those tanks or vehicles come in, is really important.
And it makes so much sense to us human brains that, machine broken, take to mechanic fix it. Mechanic now on battlefield with big gun and reared arm. Like, it just makes sense to us as a narrative.
Yeah, for sure. I can't think of. I mean, the Orcs definitely, obviously, have one. They've got Mech Boys, which are like their whole fun version of a grubby MOT garage person. But like, I can't actually think of a Tau one. I don't think the Tau have an equivalent. I guess their tech's so perfect it doesn't break. Do the Tau? I don't think the Tau have a model that can do it.
I don't know. I'm sure that the Necrons must do.
Yeah, so Necrons have got got your Cryptex. You've got your Cryptex of the various forms now. So it used to just be a Cryptek, but now you've got your like Chronomancer Cryptex that do time travel, your Plasmancers that do electricity. You've got they had a Cryptek, which is
Is there a Tyranid that heals bigger Tyranids?
There is
something like that.
Yeah.
Are they not more like a medic?
No,
though? I mean, well,
there isn't. There isn't.
I mean, if it's a monstrous creature, it's the one that runs up and kisses monstrous creature's boo-boos better.
They just birth new ones. I think there's psychers. There's psychic models in the Tyranid army that, with certain rules, will add wounds to stuff. So there is a mechanic to get wounds back, but it's not. I wouldn't say there's an equivalent like something patching something up.
Yeah, sure.
I think that should be an LBP prediction that we all remember, that in a future Tau update they'll have like an Earthcast. Is it Earthcast? Like an Earthcast?
They do have
military.
They do have like a whole
base.
cast that's
because they're in the lore.
Right.
But I guess like you were saying about the technology being like perfect, mate. It's a different cast doing the fighting, so maybe they just sort of don't care if stuff gets blown up. They just carry on fighting. I don't know. Yeah, maybe. And then the Earthcast come in later and repair it.
Stuff. It's all cheapo nonsense.
Yeah. Looking through those models though, did remind me of something that I didn't talk about, which is, as we all know, members of the AdMech display the symbol of the AdMech. So the sign, the cog sign, normally black and white, as well as just having the axe as a representation of their loyalty. When you graduate as a Techmarine on Mars, you are awarded the right to wear something called the Machina Opus, which is the icon that they wear on their power armor.
So that's the like yin yang symbol.
Yeah.
Skull in a cog, black one side, alternating white.
Yeah. So you can see it on most of the Space Marines. Certainly the more recent 40K Marines, they will have it on their chest plate.
It's
which
also
is
on the back
normally
of
where
a
the chapter
dreadnought,
stuff
isn't it?
is.
That symbol.
Yeah.
The dreadnought engines all have that on the back.
Yeah. And the other thing that has a funny link to our Mars episode is that they are among the only ranks of Space Marines that are allowed free passage through the Ring of Iron in Mars, and they're allowed into the great workshops, into the hive cities. So a Tech Marine can just, like we did, visit Mars, and no one can stop them. They have the right to go where they want, which I imagine for Space Marine chapters wanting to rearm might be quite useful. And that's the other thing in the lore, because the chapters kind of benefit, as well as maintaining their equipment, having a representative of the AdMech with them means that when they are out on campaign, maybe a company from the chapter, they'll have a couple of Tech Marines with them. If they do come across AdMech outposts or even Forge Worlds or some AdMech affiliated force, they can communicate with them far more easily than if they didn't have the Tech Priests, Tech Marines, because we all know that the AdMech is slightly odd, might not necessarily help other human forces, but having a member of the Adeptus Mechanicus with them means that there's typically no problem at all, that they kind of work together. So it kind of it gives the Space Marine chapters more advantages over other Imperial forces. They are kind of an often overlooked character in
That's
Space
what I
Marines,
do.
but as you were saying, in the lore, they are very characterful.
They're in the lore a lot. There's lots of models. It's just, that's what I thought was really cool, that was a class that's been added to the Space Marine game, which is why we're doing this in the first place, as this episode now. Like, they could have picked Librarian, but they didn't pick Librarian. They picked Tech Marine, and I think that shows that there's some grimdark people that work at Saber, and B, they're pervasive in the lore, and they're cool, and just the being able to shoot a gun that's not in your hands from your backpack is badass.
Yeah, absolutely. They're the working class heroes of the 40k universe, really, aren't they? Out there grafting, whilst all these boys are running around. I'm a librarian, I'm doing psychic shit.
The librarians went to university, and the Tech Marines did an apprenticeship on Mars. That's the difference.
That's it, yeah.
Exactly.